Welcome to part three. We're talking about substandard B of the Georgia World History. Standard 14, Analyze the Age of Revolution. We're wrapping up. We began talking about in part one the change from the Tudor to the Stuart monarchy. Part two was about the English Civil War, and now we're going to talk about the Restoration and the Glorious Revolution. So again, welcome. My name is John Newton, and good evening to my students, because yes, well, it's in the evening when I'm filming this, so good evening. So at the end of Cromwell's time, Charles II, if you guys remember, is invited back by Parliament. He restores the Church of England, but he also encourages religious tolerance. Hey, worship freely, all Protestants, so Presbyterians, Quakers, Baptists, come back. He says, that I will agree to the Petition of Right. If you remember, the Petition of Right basically says that Parliament has to approve mostly what the king does, at least in the formation of taxes and armies and things. He's a very big supporter of science and arts. What is interesting about Charles is that he is in secret, he is a Catholic. Right before his death in 1685, he actually fully converts to Catholicism. His brother inherits the throne, and he is an open Catholic. His brother is James II. James starts having some problems with Parliament because of him overturning some things that not specifically important for you to remember, but it causes conflict with Parliament, and Parliament, fearing the restoration of the Roman Catholic Church and all that entails into England, Parliament invites James's Protestant daughter, Mary, and her Dutch husband, William III of Orange, he's also known as William of Orange, to come be rulers of England. So they get on their ships, they load up with their armies, and off they go. They land in England. James II flees, and he leaves and goes to France, and this is the bloodless overthrow that leads to what is called the Glorious Revolution. Very little bloodshed, very peaceful time period that follows. They actually accept Parliament's offer to take up the throne and sign the English Bill of Rights, which set forth, basically it allows Parliament to do all the lawmaking, levy taxes, or impose taxes, if you will. It also kind of takes from that Petition of Right that only Parliament can approve the the raising of an army by a monarch, and this creates that system which is known as a limited monarchy, which is basically a constitution or a government body that limits the rule of the monarch and their reach, if you will. This will form eventually what will become a constitutional government in England. So what you get from the Glorious Revolution is the influence of the English Bill of Rights, and basically the people elect representatives to Parliament, which is supreme over the monarch, and all citizens have natural rights. It is the writings of John Locke. If you remember us talking a little bit in a previous video about John Locke, he says that the people have natural rights, such as life, liberty, and property. And we, in the United States, when we form our new government, and we'll talk about the American Revolution next, I believe that's what we're going to talk about, we change it to the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but whatever. But he says that there's a social contract between people and government, and that social contract is basically we are giving our rights, our freedoms, we subjugate ourselves basically to the government in the hopes that they will govern us fairly and still allow us to keep our freedoms. This constitutional government is limited and defined by law. And there are political parties that will be formed. It's during the 1600s and really the late 1600s that these political parties really emerge in England. There are two of them that are most prominent, and that's the Tories and the Whigs. Tories, and just like it sounds, Whigs. The Tories are more aristocratic. They want to, keep with the older traditions. More broad royal powers and a dominant Anglican church. The Whigs are what embody the ideas of the Glorious Revolution. They're more about urban business and interest and supporting religious toleration, and they favor Parliament over the Crown. For much of the 1700s, even though we're now past this time period that is discussed by the Standard, it's important to understand that, for most of the 1700s, the Whigs dominate Parliament, which will eventually lead to the British throne being passed to George I, who was actually a German prince. He relied on his parliament to help him rule because he didn't speak any English. His German-born son, George II, basically had a handful of parliamentary advisors that helped set policy, and this is where the term cabinet comes from, because they actually met in a small room, or what they called a cabinet, and these became the majority leaders, or the majority party in the House of Commons. So they were the leaders in the majority in the House of Commons. Whoever was in the majority, that's basically who got the support of the Commons. If they didn't like, if the people in the House of Commons didn't like some of the decisions of the cabinet would resign. This is also called a parliamentary system, this cabinet system. Eventually, what happens is the head of the cabinet becomes known as the prime minister, and this is now the leader of the majority party in the House of Commons, and that still holds true today. So this is the end of part 3. A little extra there about the England's constitutional government and how it evolves. But thanks for watching. The next one we will pick up, and we'll talk about a different revolution. I think we'll talk about the American Revolution in the next one. So my name is John Newton, and thank you guys for watching.